Taco again. I just thought I'd take you with me on a little bit of an evening flight with my friend Jake.
I'm nervous. It's okay to be nervous. You don't do stupid shit when you're nervous.
You try not to do stupid stuff when you're nervous. Sometimes it happens anyway. Jake's out in front of me, and he's all laid out, ready to go. The plan was to take off pretty much at the same time. He would go, and then I would go right after him. This flight's about 30 minutes long, or 35 minutes, but I've cut out a few things like the run up and all that kind of stuff. I'm checking my reserve right there. You see that bag I'm fiddling with, making sure my pins didn't get pulled out as I stood up. Problem is, now there's a Jabiru experimental airplane coming into the pattern. So there's no way I can take off now, so Jake's going to have to wait.
Jabiru there, just took off. There's another one that's getting ready, but I will hold on the runway until you come back.
Not really liking that the wind's coming like right directly from the cars, but after I get running good, I figure out that it's in front of the cars and I'll make it just fine. And I know somebody's going to tell me not to hop in the seat that fast. I just kind of figure if my feet aren't touching the ground anymore, then I can probably get in the seat. Now the Jabiru has landed behind me, and they're going to taxi back down the taxiway, get some fuel, and then turn around to take off again. So I'm just trying to gain some altitude and find Jake. Not sure where Jake is at this point. It's a great view of my trim clamp thing there on the right hand side, real close up. That activates the trims. You push it in, you let the trims out, and then you pull down on that strap and the trims come back in. So let's cue up some music while we wait. Something you probably missed if the music was playing was when I was coming the other direction above this cleared out piece of woods, I said, whoa, I don't like this. A little bit bumpier than I expected. This was maybe an hour before sunset. And actually I was hoping that it wouldn't be as bumpy as it was, but well, it was a little bumpy. I didn't like it. And I halfway thought about landing, but I was hoping, based on what I saw on the weather apps, that it would smooth out a little bit as I got higher up, which did happen. Oh, there's Jake right in front of me. So it did smooth out a little bit. Didn't have to worry so much about the bumps. And I pretty much stayed around 2,000 feet or so the whole rest of the flight. Jake's goal for today was to practice some tight turns and play with his smoke system. He runs the PPG smoke system, holds about 1 liter of Diddy oil, and has a lot of fun with it. Beautiful view of Lake Robinson there. The nuclear plant is on the left-hand side, on the opposite side of the lake from where we are. There's no flight restrictions near there, but we try to avoid the nuclear plant. It's smart, it's safe, and why freak out people with rifles? So at this point, I'm just circling around, gaining some altitude while I'm still near the airport. I think my belt failure that one time, like 2 flights ago, has got me a little bit more nervous than I used to be. So I'm just kind of sticking around the airport. At some point, that Jabiru will take back off again. I think I'm about to tell them that I'm trying to get out of their way. The biggest problem is the wind is coming from sort of my front left, and I'm trying to get out of the airport area. I just can't go fast enough. A couple interesting things about the airport right now. You can barely see it, but there's an X between the series of white lines and the number 21. There's an X there, and that's there to tell pilots that the runway lights do not work yet. They just repaved that runway. They got to come back in and pave another like midfield taxiway, and they got to finish fixing the runway lights. So they don't want anybody landing there at night. Hopefully they'll get that fixed pretty soon, because I like landing after sunset, but I do like the ability to turn on the landing lights. this point, I've completely lost Jake. He's off towards town to my right. I do find him in a little bit because he sets his smoke off, and I'm able to tell the Jabiru pilot where we both are based on the position of his smoke ring. And now I'm just kind of relaxing. I'm going to fly out over that open field kind of directly in front of me. And you can't hear what I'm saying, but I'm describing to the Jabiru where we are. So I'm going to fly out over that open field in front of me. In case there's an engine out or something, I could swoop down and land in that. And then I'm going to turn back and go right back the other way. Just kind of tooling around. Trying to decide, hey, if it gets bumpy and I don't like it, I want to be close to the airport so I can get down. There's an old saying, I'd rather be on the ground wishing I was in the sky than in the sky wishing I was on the ground. And that's true sometimes. You come out the house in the morning to go to work, look up in the sky like, wow, I wish I was up there. But then sometimes you're in the sky and it's bumping you around and you're thinking, man, I can't wait to get on the ground. Up there's Jake's smoke ring. It's down towards the lake. It's kind of hard to discern from the road, but it's the circle there right next to the road. And what I'm doing is I don't want to get over that group of houses that's right kind of down in front of me. So I'm going to swing back around and go over the trees. I'm trying to kind of stick to areas where I don't have a big group of houses right under me. You can actually see, looking at the ground, how much faster I am moving over the ground now than I was just a minute ago. I've turned back downwind and I am really cooking now. So the paramotor doesn't know what the ground speed is. It doesn't care. The paramotor moves through an air mass at pretty much the same speed all the time, unless I mess with the trims. So it's pretty much going the same speed. But if the air mass is moving, your ground speed can add or subtract from the speed you're moving through the air. If there's no air moving at all, I might go 25 miles per hour across the ground and through the air at the same time, no matter which direction I'm going. But let's say there's a 10 mile an hour wind. When I take off and I fly into the wind, my paramotor sees 25 miles per hour. But somebody on the ground looking up at me is going to see me going by at 15 miles an hour. Now, if I turn around and fly with the wind at my back, my paramotor is still, and wing is still going to see 25 miles per hour. I'm going to fly through the air mass at 25 miles per hour. But to somebody on the ground, that air mass moving is going to be going 10 miles an hour faster. So somebody on the ground is going to look up at me and see me going by at 35 miles per hour. So really, that's what we mean when we say something like I had a headwind or I fought a headwind. It's not changing the speed at which my paramotor flies through the air. It changes my ground speed. So relative to the air mass, I can still move through it at a certain speed, but how fast I move to somebody on the ground looking up at me is going to be vastly different. I'm not sure where the Jabiru is. I haven't seen him in a while. But I was able to get way down range pretty quick. So when I land, I want to land facing the same direction I took off from because the wind hasn't shifted.
Wow, that is beautiful.
That was beautiful. And the camera doesn't do it justice. I almost dumped my shoes when I took off. Had the Jabiru not been there, I might have flown back over the airfield and kicked my shoes off when I passed over the car. I'm glad I didn't for a couple of reasons. Number one, talked about engine outs before. What if I'm flying over that green field off in the distance and my engine goes out and I have to land there? Well, I don't know what kind of surface I'm going to be walking around. So it's kind of bad karma. Also, normally I wear long pants, but it was like 98 degrees outside. So I went ahead and went to the airport in shorts, which is going to really play into what happens when I land. Had I had long pants on, post-landing would have gone very differently. So at this point, I'm just trying to get down. I'm at like 2,000 feet. The Jabiru is done. They've landed, and I think they're done for the day. And I'm just trying to come in and get landed. Now, why is my engine still on? Well, we don't normally cut the engine off until we're about 100 feet above the ground, maybe 50 feet. And I keep goosing the throttle just a little bit so the engine doesn't kind of choke out. So I'm keeping my engine on, but look where I'm going. The wind has picked up some and it's blown me out over that road where we normally don't go. So I'm trying to get back kind of over the airfield. Truer words were never spoken. It's going to be a rough landing. Yeah. Even best case scenario, I'm landing across the field. So landing from the runway, running towards the taxiway. I have like the minimum amount of space to come in and get landed and stop. Ideally, I should be able to fly right down that grass strip, but it's just not working out. My paramotor thinks that I'm going straight through the air, but because of the way the air mass is moving, I'm going, looks like I'm flying sideways. I asked the Jabiru a couple of times if they wanted to back taxi and use the runway. Of course, I would get out of their way, but I think they were using the little pilot's room at that point. So I'm checking my trims again, making sure my trims are all the way in. I want to land with as much lift and little speed as I can. If the trims were all the way out, I'm going to be landing faster. I don't want to land faster. Now something interesting happens here right at the end, and y'all probably have seen the other video. I'm worried I'm going to get blown into the trees down there where my feet are. So I'm holding my engine on just a little bit, and I'll goose it a couple of times to make sure I don't wind up in the trees, because again, the wind is trying to blow me to my left, and it's pushing me away from the runway. So I don't want to cut the engine yet. So I goose it a few times just to make sure that, hey, I'm actually going to make it across the runway. I don't want to land on the pavement. I want to get close, but I don't want to land on the pavement. And so what happens somewhere in here, you hear the engine goose. Okay, I'm making it over the trees. Now, at this point, I should have killed my engine right about
Hands up.
Here.
Do its thing.
Because I'm committed at this point.
Whoa.
It's a little bit bumpy. Consider to go around, but I'm ready to get down at this point. So I should have killed my motor. I goose it one more time, just to get me over the runway, and then I forgot to hit the kill switch. So when I go to flare, it's a good touchdown, flare. When I go to flare, I grab the throttle and slide in, and that's how my leg got hurt.
Hartsville traffic, green paramotor is down. God damn it, I had it.
That would have been a good landing otherwise, I think. Leave a comment below if you think otherwise, but I may have flared just a little bit early. I flared too hard. I started to burble
I
up.
hope you didn't see that landing.
I think I pulled a little too much brake early because I felt it burble up like I was going uphill again. And then that's when I went, oh crap, and grabbed and clenched my fist and sort of made the throttle go again. And that's where I tore my leg up. You'll get a good view of it here in a second. Yeah, still healing a week later. Doesn't look bad yet. Looks worse now than it did then. But had I worn long pants,
Oh God,
this would have been a non-issue.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. That hurts. That hurts.
Had I worn long pants, I would have just slid across the ground. So, especially these nylon pants that I usually wear. And now I'm just ready to get out of there. I throw my stuff together real quick, and I'm just ready to go home. Wish everybody out there good luck, happy flying, and remember, rule 1, don't go splat.